Hi and welcome to the shed. Now today I'm going to be working on the Sportster. I'm going to have to take a little bit of a step back today on what I've been doing. I've started to strip the bike down, but this week I've had a delivery of something I've been waiting for a very long time, and in fact it was something that I ordered before I blew the engine up. Had I known I was about to blow the engine up, I wouldn't have ordered it because it was quite expensive. So what did I do? Well, what I did was this. I ordered new wheels and they've now been made up for me, and what I'm going to do today is give them a bit of a trial fit to see how well they actually fit onto the bike, and see whether or not the spacers are right, and basically if they've been made right so they fit the bike. I have every confidence that they will, but you never know till you try. So let's see how this one works out. Now, as I mentioned, I've started to strip the bike down, which means I've already pulled the front wheel and brake calipers off, because what I was in the middle of was starting to strip the forks down for some work on them. Now I've got the wheel out, what I really need to do is clean some stuff up, because everything is pretty dirty, and before I start trying new parts I need to clean. I need to clean anyway, so now's the time to do it. I'm going to do it off camera because it's not really much fun, and it's quite dirty and messy. So I'll catch you guys again shortly, and let's see if the bike's a bit cleaner, or rather the forks anyway, when I see you again. Okay, so front end has been degreased and cleaned up a bit. It's not perfect yet, it's got a bit more work to do, and things will need cleaning up properly before proper reinstallation, but for now it's just trial fit. So let's get that wheel in and see if it fits. So making sure to keep the orientation the right way around. This one has the short spacer and has a bevel on the inside, so does the other spacer. Not sure what's going on this side. I have a spacer in the wheel. I can't quite see how that's going to work. I think that's going to have to come out, but let's have a look. Yeah, certainly needs some sort of spacer in on this side. Yeah, the one that's in the wheel certainly isn't going to work. It's far too short. Looks like the original spacer might be right. I think the easiest way to tell is going to be trying to put the brake discs on, because they'll allow me to see how well centered the wheel is against the disc, because the discs are in a fixed place, and while I can measure in here, which will work, I'll feel more comfortable with the brake discs. Let's see if we can get the old brake discs off. That's probably not going to be quite so easy. Now these Sunstar discs should be the OEM fitment for this bike. They're supposedly semi-floating, although if they were, they seem to have long ago seized up. I have managed to get a little bit of movement in the bobbins, but it's pretty minimal. It would be great to replace these, so I've got new discs on the new wheels, but that's £500 that I can't quite justify at the moment, given these are still okay. They're starting to wear, they're going to need replacing soon, so they're going to go on until I do need to replace them. However, first of all, we need to get these off. If these come off, I'm going to be quite surprised. I think I'm going to have to soak these in penetrating fluid and probably leave overnight. Or not. It's bound to be one. So, seems to fit here okay, which is good. Just going to hand tighten the nut down. It's just enough to draw that fork leg in. Now by eye, this side of the wheel looks a little bit closer than this side. Look at the distance between the brake disc and the fork leg. And then look at the other side. I could measure them, but what would be the fun in that? No, seriously, I will measure them and then I'll try the brake discs. It turned out there was a difference. The gap on this side was a little bit different to what it was on the other side, but I got a spanner and I just torqued that down a little bit. Well, still spins freely, and now they're much the same. So oddly enough, just goes to show how accurate your eye can be in judging distances. Okay, a little bit of pad scuff there, but about what I would expect. And now the brake test. Button the pads up. There we go. Yeah, about where we were before. Yep, I'm happy with that. Calipers are due for a bit of an overhaul. They haven't been apart for quite a long time. I think they're probably sticking a bit, not retracting out fully. So that's another job for the list. But overall, I'm happy. Front wheel works. And looks good. Right, let's get the chain guard off. Doesn't necessarily have to come off, but it's going to have to. It's coming off anyway, so out the way. It's just a little easier to deal with. The thin nut on the back of this shock mount is always a pain on this side with the chain guard here, because it absolutely gets in the way. Right, with these calipers, the actual caliper body sits over the mounting plate that holds the pads in. It's quite a good design because it means that you can just pull this top piece off and get to your pads. So if you take out the two T45 Torx bolts, which are also the sliding pins for the caliper, in other words, what it moves backwards and forwards on. It's a little bit fiddly to get in here. So, both of those. This is then free to move. And again, if you can just try and push those pads back in a little bit, this will wiggle off. Now try not to pinch your fingers, because that does happen. We'll try and push the pads back, try and push the piston back in, I should say. There we go. Now you may wish to unclip the brake hose. It will come off just like that. Now you'll notice here that the spring, well, you may not be able to see, the spring here has just unclipped, so just push that back into there. So now to service these, all you need to do is take this spring clip out and these pads will just fall out, but I don't need to do that, so I'm just going to leave that there. It's not any particular strain on this hose. And now let's see if we can get the back wheel out. Caliper unit just slides backwards and forwards so that the brake calipers are always in the right place against the brake disc, and it's just a simple clip fit. There's a rubber slider there that just provides a bit of friction. But the pads are just held now to here. But this is also a spacer, so you can't really reassemble it without it. So I'm just going to clean this all up, and then we'll come back. Right, the back I can foresee is going to present some bigger issues. Because whilst the front was a straight bolt-in replacement, the rear doesn't look like it's going to be, and it's a question of how much work it's going to need to actually make it fit. So let's have a look and see what we're working with. There are two spacers on the drive side of the axle, which is sort of odd, a little bit unusual perhaps, but that's how it is. So but I'm unsure that it will actually take two on that side. Again, I have a spacer in here. On this side, which actually looks same dimension, so I'm going to leave that one in there. And on this side, again, I've got a spacer, and it does appear to be the same dimension, so I'm going to leave this one out, and that leaves this spacer, which just sort of floats in midair. Alright, so oops. Now it's going to be a little bit fiddly. Just getting this in here. Okay. Well, that seems okay from first glance. Now, where the problems have arisen is that the hubs where you bolt on the brake disc and the actual drive hub are not the same. On the original wheel, they bolt in, and they're through two different thread sizes, and this is where the issue is. The holes on these are the same both sides, and that means that whilst the drive hub is okay, the brake disc will have a bit of play in it, and I'm not entirely happy with that, so I need to make some further investigations. Let's see if I can just dry fit them on though without bolting it in. Make it slightly fiddly to put together, but so the same Sunstar, well, it's not actually the same, but it's a Sunstar rear disc, which goes in this side, and the drive goes in there. It's gonna be a miracle if I can get this up in there without those two falling off. Let's see if I can get the spacer in there. Okay, this is where I need 16 hands. Right, so we have a slight clearance issue here, but it could just be that this brake is too far back. So it's not sitting straight because it's so far back. Okay. Drop it back down again. Okay, so lesson learned. That needs to go in there first. Okay, so that's definitely on the fiddly side. There's no doubt about that at all. But now I've got the drive belt on, all the widths seem good. The only issue is that I need some new nuts and bolts to attach the drive hub, and I need to sort out the issue of the rear brake disc with the holes in the hub being oversized, which I'm not happy with. I need to speak to someone who knows more about it than I do, and they'll tell me whether or not that's okay or whether we need to do something about it. But otherwise, that all looks good. Okay, I need to pull this back out again and see where we are. Right, so a productive session. I'm not surprised that there was a little bit of an issue with the rear wheel. When you're fitting custom parts, there's always going to be something that's not quite right. In this case, it's not too big a deal to actually put the can't even think what you will call it now, the cassette for the belt, or the rear sprocket for the belt. I just need some shorter bolts, so I need to source appropriate bolts for that, and I need to find a solution to fitting the brake rotor. I'm not happy with that little bit of slop. Yes, you could just torque the nut down, but I don't think that's the right solution. So I'm going to look into that, but otherwise I'm quite happy. The wheels seem to fit, so it's all good. Great. Well, thanks for watching, and I shall catch you guys again soon.